The long road to the USMLE examinations ends with step 3, which is often the most neglected one, but also is gaining considerable importance. With step 1 going pass or fail and step 2 being the only objective criteria to measure a residency candidate, step 3 is gaining importance. Even so, for people or individuals with graduation years that are slightly older. It is a 2-day examination, with day 1 consisting of questions that are very similar to your step 1 and day 2 consisting of questions which mimic your step 2 CK along with the new CCS cases. But nevertheless, this is one on the easier side of examinations, and you shouldn't be needing more than a couple of months along with your rotations if that is what you're doing. Day 1 is 7 hours long and day 2 is 9 hours long and divided accordingly. And for me, my step 3 preparation was in Florida while I was rotating at the Synapse Neurology Clinic. We had an 8 to 5 schedule, but I found it easy to be able to study for step 3 because a lot of it is reviewing your content from step 2 CK and step 1, as well as additions of factors such as prognosis. And of course, for the resources, I used UWorld and ccscases.com. I did not use the cases from UWorld just because I felt the explanations or the style of it wasn't my cup of tea. But if you like it, of course, you can go ahead and do the same. And I felt like completing all of that is very important. I found some YouTube videos that were really helpful in creating mnemonics for the CCS cases. So you just memorize them and kind of use that to your advantage in doing so. And while you're doing that, of course, slow down and do things that you love. For me, it was taking my bicycle and going around the town or just looking around for great places to have food, like the ones that you see here. And also the ones that you see in the next pictures, like this. Now I'm going to talk about the gist of the preparation. So as I said, it's going to be UWorld and CCS cases. And I think in this case, I made notes based on the questions from UWorld because I wanted to review it at the end of the day, which is unlike me. I tried multiple books like The Master the Boat Step 3. I've tried Crush Step 3 cases, but I really did not find the time or did not find the books that enjoyable. And for my assessments, I did the UWorld self-assessments and also the NBMEs. This was important for me to stay on track and to assess my weaknesses. So by the end of the time, I was able to make a topic list, as you can see. Despite all these and the examination stress, I was making sure I go around and have a bit of fun because my examination would arrive in no time. The Prometric Center that had my step 3 was about 100 miles from where I lived. So a couple of friends and I decided to take an Uber to the examination center and back for both of the 2 days. And I had about 3 or 4 days in between the examination, which I'd recommend because you'd have enough rest for the next day, and also you can brush up on your CCS cases or complete the CCS cases if you haven't already. Overall, that 3 or 4 days were really helpful because I was more confident with my CCS cases. And also the clinic time kind of pushed me away from the step 1 style of questions of day 1 towards step 2 style questions. And there I was finally done with my step 3 and relieved. I got to my bed that night and probably slept for more than 12 hours. I woke up, had a lot of tea, just went to friend's place and watched a lot of movies. Enjoyed the rain of Florida, although it was a hurricane. And these are some general tips that I can give you. This is obviously from Reddit, as you can see. Get into the habit of reading your question carefully. I mean, this is step 3, so by this time you would have done that already. But practice it again since it might have been some time after you've taken your step 2 CK. Of course, there is a lot of recall, there is a lot of things that you need to understand. But overall, it's a mixture of both. There's knowledge as well as there is understanding. For the most part, don't try to pick any answer that sounds fancy or that is new or that you've never seen before, and always look through all the options very carefully. And try not to second guess yourself because usually your first instinct would be the right one. And if you're unable to figure out the answer, at least try to pinpoint it to the organ system and then work towards your answer. When you have two options, the best way is to look back at the question and see for signs and symptoms that tell you otherwise. So read your highlighted sections again and then try to come to a conclusion. So oftentimes it looks like you're just staring at the screen for that couple of extra seconds or about 5 or 10 seconds, and that should give you an answer in such cases. And obviously one mistake that all of us do is just assuming symptoms that are not there, just because we feel that if this was there the question would be this, or if that was there the question would be that, and so on and so forth. So stop trying to do that even for step 3. For the most part, try to slow down, don't rush through the question, and you will have ample time if you do it right. Of course, there are questions that you would have to just pick up based on the buzzword, and of course there are questions where you'd have to just read the last line and go forward because you might be at a time crunch. And always read it like a real patient is talking to you, which means always imagine a person and almost like a red highlight where the person has a pain or sort of a thing. Use elimination wisely and try to do it as often as you can, and always think before you answer. These are certain general tips that I've always followed for my USMLE Step examinations, and these general principles worked 90% of the time, so that's something. If you have any questions or concerns or even suggestions, you can always email me at the email that you can see on the screen. I have also included my Instagram handle. If you feel comfortable messaging me there, I'll be really happy to help either ways. And if you like this video, you can subscribe, comment and like, and also give me suggestions on what would you like to see further, or what is it that you're interested in seeing in the future. That's about it. Thank you.